Welcome back, everyone. Myself and Paul Kelly, we are here again for another preview of this weekend's action. Three videos, obviously spliced and diced. Paul, as well, has also been spliced and diced. Look how groomed he is. He looks absolutely gorgeous there, waiting to go through the second of these three fights. We've done the main event of this card. Check that out on the channel. But we are here for an undercard fight taking place. I suppose it's the biggest fight is obviously the main event of this weekend, which we've already covered. But we're on an undercard fight, an undercard mode here. I'm not going to say anything else. I'm going to pass over to my colleague, my friend Paul Kelly, who's now going to take us through it.
Yeah, thanks very much, Elliot. You are indeed correct. We're in Poland for some undercard action in the lightweight division, as Denis Berinczyk and Anthony Yigit fight, in a lightweight contest. Quick tail of the tape as we always do. Probably familiar enough names, especially Yigit, but Berinczyk, not to be mistaken of Ivan Baranchyk, completely different fighter. Denis Berinczyk, this is. He is a Ukrainian fighter as well, like Usyk. He's 17-0 with 9 KOs, 35 years old, 5'7" and stands in the orthodox stance. Yigit is 27 and 3-1, 10 KOs in the 27 wins. His three defeats have all come via stoppage and obviously a draw on there as well. He's 4 years younger at 31, despite being the more seasoned pro here. He is a southpaw fighter from Sweden, an inch taller at 5'8" and has a 66-inch reach. Few points to make here before I ask you some questions, Elliot. Obviously, you look at Berinczyk and he's undefeated, 17-0. Good performance last time out, won the European title with a UD win over Ivan Mendy, which was actually on the Fury Chisora undercard. And then Yigit's obviously a former European champion too, but at super lightweight, so he's down at lightweight now. He also challenged for the IBF World Super Lightweight title a few years back against Ivan Baranchyk. Too many Baranchyk and Berinczyks there to talk about. He ended up getting stopped in the seventh round by the doctor stoppage, no position to continue. The other two defeats on his record, bar the Baranchyk one, have come recently enough to two American fighters in Rolly Romero and Keyshawn Davis. So, Keyshawn Davis, really good amateur, tipped for massive things in the future at lightweight, and obviously Rolly Romero, an opponent of Gervonta Davis, and is now currently the WBA champion, I believe, at lightweight. And then you look at some of his wins, and he's got some credible wins there. He's got beaten Joe Hughes, who was I think he was the Welsh fighter, Doyle, like me mentioned, he was a European champion at one time. Also beat Sandor Martin, who gave Teofimo Lopez fits not so long ago. So yeah, just kind of after looking at that, obviously Berinczyk does have a few good wins as well. Not as many notable names, but good records of people that he's fought. First and foremost, who do you favour to win this fight? Do you think it's a tough one to call, or are you fairly? I think Berinczyk is probably going to be the big favourite. I'm not sure in odds or anything. I would assume he would be the favourite here. But how much of a favourite do you make him? Do you think it's an interesting fight, or do you see it as a foregone conclusion that the Ukrainian wins this?
Thank you very much, Paul. Very eloquent and learned breakdown there. We've, as usual, treating us to that one. I think, answer your question, I obviously make Berinczyk favourite. Even though I agree with you, obviously the CV is not as good as Jiu-Jitsu, but equally I would favour him. Just also looking at it early and researching, I said he's also got another 6-round fight coming up in like a little bit after this as well, which is quite odd to already have that fight scheduled, which to me is a bit of a concern. As though the suggestion in some ways is that Berinczyk might take this point, and then obviously he won't be medically ruled out to fight subsequently afterwards. So I would make him favourite. I think he's got you said 9 KOs in your 17 fights, so I would actually lean towards points if I had to, as well. But again, I think it's actually a really good step up fight for him, actually, to be honest with you, in the sense of like you're fighting someone with a bit more experience, fighting out of Ukraine, fighting, well, obviously, due to circumstance as well, but also getting out there, fighting someone who's sort of, like you say, has experience, been around. So it'd be a good victory for him, I think, and a good step up in some ways. But I look at the places taking place, the event it's on, the undercard of who's it's on as well, and kind of feel like the judges will probably be leaning that way as well. So I almost feel like, for me, the investment really is in a Berinczyk points victory, and that's what I'll be backing modestly, because I'm not a man on the betting show like yourself, Paul, but I'll be backing it modestly for Berinczyk points this weekend. Would you concur, or would you disagree with that one?
I agree with the fighter, but I'm actually going to disagree with the method of victory. I'm going to lean towards a knockout. obviously you look at Yigit and he's lost 3 times and he's been stopped every time. But like Keyshawn Davis stopped him in the ninth round, I believe. Baranchik was the seventh, and Rolly Romero was round the seventh as well. And yeah,
Mm.
Rolly Romero is a world champion and all now. And I know that boxing doesn't work like this because of the whole cliche of styles make fights, but I don't think Rolly Romero is that good. So do I think Dennis Barinchik is potentially better than Rolly Romero? Probably. And I know it doesn't work like that, obviously, as I mentioned, but something's telling me he could force the stoppage here. Um, how, when it comes, I'm not 100% sure. But just before we finish, I'll bet you I've got one more question. Obviously, I mentioned Barinchik. You look at his recent victories, and they're all good winning records for the people he has beaten. Most of them in Ukraine and so on and so forth, but good records. And we don't know how good those fighters actually are because they're not whole household names. But then last time he did beat Ivan Mendy via UD, which is a really good win. We know Mendy on UK shores as well. My question is, if Barinchik does win this, is Yigit his toughest opponent in terms of name, or do you put him below Mendy? Because I would probably say Mendy is his best win so far.
Oh, that's a tough question. Well, definitely, obviously, between those two. I I mean, obviously, the age of Mendy is probably one of those ones which would kind of discount that as well. But I would probably have. Oh, I'd probably have you just slightly extra above Mendy to other stages where they're at, just because of the age factor, really. But like you said, I mean, very experienced fighter. Obviously, I think his record's what's it, like 48-6 or something crazy as well. So like, very credible sort of step up fight as well. But I'd have you just slightly above him off basis of on basis of sort of rounds and experience, etc. And that kind of miles on the clock. But again, very tight. So I'd actually have this probably as his best win to my mind.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a good name to have on the record for Brinchik if he is to beat Yigit here. He is capable of winning Yigit. He's obviously got some good wins. Could he roll back the years and put in a performance like he did against Sandor Martin? He's obviously gone on to better things since. Remains to be seen. I do favour Brinchik, and I think he'll get it done via stoppage. But yeah, definitely a credible opponent in my opinion, and a good undercard fight here on the Usyk Dubois bill. That's not really much more to say, Elliot, apart from for you to take us out.
I will take us out. Obviously, again, guys, thanks for watching. Obviously, as Paul mentioned there, we've got other content on the channel that we always like to have, written previews, video deep dives, etc., etc. We've obviously got another, the weekly preview that we've already done, which already in the can and probably being edited as we speak. Is obviously the Usyk Dubois fight. Check that out as well. I mean, obviously, you may agree with us when we both have predicted who to win that one, but equally, there's some good snippets and good humour in that one as well. And we've got a third fight coming up, which is a heavyweight fight taking place in the US. We're not going to say anything else about that one. Please check out the channel for that. But yeah, as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Paul, thank you very much for joining me. And yeah, continue to support the channel. Continue to check us out. Let us know in the comments whether you agree or disagree with us. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Echo everything you say, Elliot. All the best.